Okay, so tomorrow is your test. It covers lessons 2-4 to 2-7. On the test, you will be solving two-step inequalities. Now, on the test, the graphing question will be separate from the problems. So I know in the homework I asked you to solve and graph, but the questions will be separated. I'll say solve or I'll say graph. So it'll be two different types of a question. So for example, you will have a two-step. I'll do one of each. I'll do a two-step with using division and one with solving using multiplication. So number one, when I go to solve this, I am going to first get rid of the 10 by adding 10 to both sides. And I get negative 3e. Yes?
Is it okay if I can go up and do one myself to see if I have?
So here you're going to add 10 to both sides. It cancels from the left. It is now less than or equal to 6. I now have to divide by negative 3. And when I divide by a negative, remember to reverse your inequality. And positive 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. Now, to practice graphing, it's going to be a closed circle on negative 2 going to the right. So this is a two-step where you're going to add and divide to solve. Number 2, we're going to use subtraction and multiplication to solve this one. All right, so for this one, I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides first. I'm left with c divided by 2 greater than 3. And now to solve for c, multiply both sides by 2. And I end up with c is greater than 6. When I graph this, open circle on 6, going to the right. Question?
Why do you have to flip the sign?
Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative. When I subtract, I'm not flipping. Only when you multiply or divide in that last step by a negative number. And the negative has to be with the letter. So on number 1, we flipped because we divided on number 1 by a negative 3. All right, now, also on Canvas, attached on the last page, see what's on the second page. Second page, it's same thing, but it's dealing with fractions. And you may also have to distribute before you multiply or combine some like terms. So let me try number 6 here. First thing I'm going to do is distribute. So the 2 to the b, the 2 to the negative 7. So I get 2b minus 14 plus negative 4b greater than or equal to, and I'm actually going to subtract the 30 and the 18. And I get 12. Over here on this left side, notice you have a 2b and a negative 4b that you can group together. Because they're both on the left side, we're not doing inverse operations here. So I'm going to go ahead and group them, and I get a negative 2b minus 14 greater than or equal to 12. Add 14. Negative 2b greater than 26. This is where I'm going to flip because I'm dividing by a negative 2. So I get b flipped symbol negative 13. So be able to distribute and combine like terms before you can begin your inverse operations. So you may have a word problem from this lesson, so go back, you can review your homework, but be able to solve two-step and multi-step inequalities. Are the answers. So here are the two answers of the problems that I just did. 2, 5. These are the answers now still. Still the answers. For 2, 5, this is going to have variables on both sides. The process is still the same. I'm grouping my like terms together, and I may use inverse operations. So for example, on number 4, notice I need to distribute first on the right side. So 8c plus 4, that side's the same. Distribute the 4, and now I can begin my inverse operations. So I will subtract the 4c. My goal is to get letters on one side and numbers on the other. Over here, we're going to subtract 4 to get the letters on the left and the numbers on the right. And now, last step, divide. I'm not dividing by a negative. I do have a negative 16, but I don't reverse because that negative sign was not with the letter initially. So then I get C is greater than negative 4. So you may have to distribute first again, group like terms, and then begin collecting your letters on one side and your numbers on the other. So you will have to do this on the test tomorrow. There's the ones before, you would just write your answer as an inequality. So when the variables don't cancel, your answer is just a plain inequality. Again, there's more examples. Here again, we're going to talk about identities, all real numbers, and no solutions. So let's try one of these. So here I have t plus 5 on the left and t plus 5 on the right. Notice they're identical. This is an identity. Whenever you see this occurring, the answer is going to be all real numbers. But let's say you didn't realize it and you started to solve. So let's say you decided to move the t's together. The t's cancel, and now you're left with 5 is less than 5. So here, because everything is going to cancel and it's not equal to, this would be no solution. This one though, look at this. When I move my x's together, the difference here is it's got the or equal to. So because 5 equals 5, and it's true, this is all real numbers. So if it's a true statement, the answer is all real numbers. If it's a false statement after the letters cancel, it's no solution. You will have these on the test tomorrow. Be able to distinguish between them. So when it's true, it's all real numbers. When it's false, it's no solution. Yes?
Are we going to have to say that on every problem, or are you going to say if it's all real numbers?
Nope, I'm not going to say. I'm just going to say solve.
So we have to put all real numbers?
If it ends up with the variables canceling, you're going to have to tell me, is it all real numbers or no solution? Okay. The only time you put these two things is when the variables cancel.
Okay.
Okay. Good?
So the ones before we don't put any.
Right. You just leave your. So that was 2, 5. 2, 6 was solving compound inequalities. This is where we were introduced to the and and the or. So again, you're still going to solve it the same. So for example, on number 4 here, -5 -5 less than k minus 1 less than 0. Remember, when we're solving these where it's compound like this, whatever we do to the left, we do to the middle and to the right. So here I'm going to add 1 to the middle, to the left side, and to the right side. The 1 is gone from the middle. I end up with -4 on the left. K is left in the middle, and on the right is a 1. This is an and. If you pulled it apart, you could also have said K is greater than -4 and K is less than 1. To see this graphically, it's going to be an open circle on -4, open on 1, meeting in the middle. Yes?
So if it was the arrow was going the other way, would it be like, it wouldn't be together?
Right. It'll end up, the ors, they go outward. And they can't be written like this together. You would actually see the word or in between the two. And I'll do one of those. It's probably on the next page. So here are the ors. Okay, ors will always have the word or in between them. So here I just solved these simply. So I'm going to subtract the 2. And then I get x is greater than or equal to 3. Or subtract the 6, x is less than -4. So the ors will have the word or in there. Remember I told you, I don't know if I told you yesterday, or begins with the letter O, and you could either think that your graph will be pointing outward or out or in opposite directions. And notice all of these words start with the letter O. Whatever little tricks to help you remember. So here, it'll be a closed circle on 3, open circle on -4, and they're both going outward. So that was the compound and in ors. Back to it. All right, so for number 9, see, if you write at least the greatest, it's better to see. So, like for example, if I were to write this one on the left, x is less than -4 or x greater than -3. And see how you can see it better and how they go out?
Yeah.
So if you put at least the greatest, then it sort of makes more sense. Does that help or answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last,
I was going this one too.
okay, let me go. Lesson is what we just reviewed.
The arrow is going this way.
All right, back to the compound. It was the absolute values. And for those, we have to first isolate, then make the 2 cases, and then solve. So for example, on number 1, I need to isolate first. So I'm going to first write my problem. I isolate by subtracting the 12. Absolute value of x less than 4. It's now isolated. I look at my symbol, it's a less and now I make my 2 problems. First -4 and then with the positive. Yes?
For number 9, when it says or, because like...
So let me try another one over here. So let's say we have number 4. Again, remember, isolate first. +3. Now, right away it looked like it was negative, but remember, you need to isolate first. Once it's isolated, I now get it less than 1. Okay, it's positive, I can make my 2 problems. It's a less and, so I'm going to write the word and. X plus 4, flip it. X plus 4, keep it the same. Now solve. X greater than -5 and over here, x less than -3. Graphing this would be together, so it's going to be on -5, open circle on -3, meeting in the middle. Let me see if there's a no solution on the next page. Solution in all real numbers, or in all real numbers. absolute value ones, you can also get numbers, just like we saw in the homework. There isn't any examples on the study guide, but there were some in the homework. I'll just add a problem here for you. Let's say it's 4 plus, in bars, x plus 1, and it's going to be greater than 3. When I isolate, once I move this over, I get x plus 1 in the bars. Notice that it's going to be greater than a negative 1. So as soon as we see this, I know it's all real numbers. But whenever you see, let's say we solved it and we got less than a negative 1, this would be no solution because it can never be negative. So as soon as you see this occur, a less than a negative number, it's no solution. But as soon as you see greater than this negative 1, it's all real numbers. So if you go through this study guide, it looks very much like your test. You will be graphing, you will be solving. It's 15 questions long. And you have this first period tomorrow. That on these apps, okay, be aware